I'll begin I'll begin by introducing Jack Gilroy from the Northampton. And Jack, I feel like you're all over the place in terms of the work that you've been doing lately. And thank you so much. You certainly represent the best of Veterans for Peace in your activism. We're going to show on screen the students that you brought who will be speaking to us tonight. And again, thank you to you and the students who have all agreed that we can show their video on camera, and this program will be recorded for those who will come in and will like to hear from you all in terms of the struggles that are going on in Northampton. So I'm going to ask Jack to introduce you all. And again, thank you on behalf of Veterans for Peace. We know that you've got activists in your area who will be joining with you. And as you talk about the activism that you participated in, tell us a little bit about what you think we can do to help support you in this struggle, because we really have, as part of our intention, to support the students who have been so active in the struggle to stop the bombing in Gaza and to stop the role of the United States war manufacturers. Thank you again for being here tonight. And Jack, I'm going to turn this part of the program over to you.
Well, thanks, Susan. Right. My name is Jack Gilroy, and I'm with the upstate group known as Chapter 90, or the Stu Naismith chapter. Stu Naismith's grandfather was the founder of basketball. We always like to say that when we go in the classrooms with kids trying to demilitarize some of the schools. But I'm going to say very little because we're here for the students to speak. And I just to set you geographically in mind as to where we are. We're about an hour south of Syracuse and about an hour north of Scranton, Pennsylvania. And believe me, we've done a lot of work there. Susan, in fact, was with us in Scranton a year ago last July at the 155 millimeter factory that is the most wanted munition for both the Israelis and the Ukrainians. But we want to hear from the students and see what they have to say about what is going on at Cornell, what is going on at Binghamton University. And I'd like first to ask Geronimo Pinto to say a bit. Geronimo just took a job with the American farm workers, and he has work to do tonight, but he's willing to sit in and tell us a bit about what he has been doing. He just graduated from Cornell just a few months ago. So Geronimo, would you please jump in and say what you need to say?
Hi, yeah, thank you for having us. Yeah, I'm like I said, or like Jack said, I'm currently, I'm working with the UFW, and I do have to jump off real quick. It's, there's a lot of farms in upstate New York, and it's all migrant farm labor, so that's what my job entails. I'm a staff organizer for the UFW, so organizing farm workers for better contracts and for better conditions. And yeah, I think like Jack said, I graduated, so maybe Sumitra has more to say about how things have been going on the ground as of late. I will just share that we just recently had an action with with many students. I think as many as 17 were detained. I know a handful of us were arrested for disrupting a a panel of it was an ex-ambassador or to I think he was a member of the State Department during the Iraq War and the Afghanistan wars, and then Sveni Lipsky, who was a member of the War Cabinet during Operation Protective Edge in 2014, and a member of the Palestinian Authority, which, as we all know, is a Israeli setup, controlled opposition, if it can even be called opposition at this point, in the Palestinian territories. But we disrupted that. Many of us were arrested. We were arrested on completely some people were arrested or detained for something as simple as, being a little loud. Others were just simply escorted out after asking a question and hadn't disrupted the event at all. One individual was escorted out because she was simply wearing a keffiyeh. So, as we can see, with the recent escalation at Columbia with the deportation of, or the attempted deportation of Mahmoud Khalil, they're really cracking down on free speech on these campuses, and I think it's necessary for us to, continue the fight for Palestine, especially as things worsen in Gaza. And like I said, I think Sumitra has more to say about, how things have been going on the ground recently, because she's more in the thick of it than I at this point. So I'll maybe pass it on to her, and want to say thank you for everybody who listens to us and supports us. And free Palestine.
Thank you. Sure, I can talk a little bit more about Cornell. For the panel that Geronimo was talking about, Students for Justice in Palestine promoted the walkout and promoted materials about the wrongdoings of the people on the panel. And we were actually issued a temporary suspension because of that. So we are no longer a registered student organization, and we have been told we are not allowed to have meetings or access our funding or things like that. So we're kind of dealing with that. And also students have been receiving notices that they have disciplinary meetings in the upcoming days. Things like that are happening, all because they heckled, essentially, which, I thought we had the right to do that in America, but guess not. And some of the people who were detained or arrested did nothing. We had people detained who just walked out in protest silently, who were detained. Like Geronimo was talking about, it was really just arbitrary. Yeah, and we'll continue to, students at Cornell will continue, of course, to organize as we all do. Jack, did you want me to talk about perhaps the staff?
Could you kind of say something about your situation, if you don't mind?
Sure. No, I don't mind at all. So, I actually have court next Wednesday at 9 a.m. Because I was arrested at the end of January for alleged actions at the Statler Hall Career Fair protest in September, like last September. During that protest, a group of students, lots of students, protested a career fair because weapons manufacturers L3 Harris and Boeing were invited. And these are weapons manufacturers whose students at Cornell voted to divest from. And so, yeah, they protested. And then I was charged about 5 months later. They actually came to my dorm room and arrested me in the morning. The conduct of cops on this campus is insane and really, really shameful. But yeah, that's my situation. I'm facing, I think, charges of obstruction of government administration and also unlawful assembly. And we'll see what happens with those, but I think it'll all be okay.
It should be an interesting trial. Can you tell us when that trial is going to be so that maybe some people can go there?
Yeah, sure. Anyone is welcome. I think we'll be posting about it probably in the next hour or so. But it's next Wednesday at 9 a.m. at the Ithaca City Court. It's the 26th. And yes, I have court then. And I would love to see anyone who can make it.
We'll make sure you're going to have a lot of people there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We're so proud of you. And did the New York Times cover this, Sumitra? Were they there with you shutting down L3 Harris and Boeing?
Nope, they never do. They never do cover it.
I'm not saying you did it, but the people. Could you tell us about how they actually the students did do that, whoever those students were?
Yeah, sure. I can speak to the publicly available news coverage of the incident, which is, and from the people I've talked to, which is that students they held a rally at a location on campus and then had speeches about the weapons manufacturers, and then they marched to the building where the career fair was being held, and then they entered the building and they entered the career fair. They had pots and pans and they were banging them. I think the video of it is on the Veterans for Peace website, which is really great. Thank you so much for putting it on there. But yeah, I think there's still like there's continuity in the fight against weapons manufacturers, although you might not see exactly the same tactics because of all of the repression we're facing. But a group on campus, the Coalition for Mutual Liberation, actually just today posted a video of students in another way disrupting, I guess, an Lockheed Martin info session that occurred on campus by asking pointed questions. So,
Sumitra, there's an interesting situation the day before this action took place, where LC Harris and L3 Harris and Boeing had a pre-job fair, activity. Could you kind of tell us what happened there?
yeah, sure. I was there for that. That did not violate the student code of conduct or any laws. We went to the publicly available L3 Harris info session. A lot of schools, especially Cornell, because of its careerist mindset, they have info sessions with recruiters and then small groups of students who want to work at their company, perhaps, or are interested. I believe the recruiting session we went to was an HR positions at L3 Harris. And so a group of students went, and then during the Q&A portion, they asked pointed questions of the recruiter, Marshall. I think I asked him about he had I remember I was sitting there and he had this quote up on the PowerPoint when he was doing like an introduction of himself. And it was a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson about how he wanted to make a positive impact on the world. And so I asked him, like, I remember, I think I even had a different question scripted for myself, but I just saw that and I was like, how can you, like, I think it's really great that you want to make a positive impact on the world. Do you think that like your work at Lockheed Martin, which is destroying at L3 Harris, sorry, that's destroying infrastructure in Gaza, do you think that's making a positive impact on the world? And he looked really shocked to be asked that question. I think everyone who was not, like, everyone seemed really shocked to have had that sort of be acknowledged. But as we went on, like the students who were there for the info session, some of which whom perhaps did not know that L3 Harris was a weapons manufacturer because it was an HR recruiting fair, they seemed really shocked as well. And I think it did sort of like derail the info session because the students who wanted to ask questions about legitimate internships could not ask those questions or felt perhaps that like they didn't need to ask those questions anymore because they didn't want to work there.
Great. Thanks so much, Sumitra. Yeah, and we'll be at your trial, and I'm sure a lot of people will be joining you with banners and in support. Thank you for your real service. Caleb from Binghamton University. Caleb, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. Caleb, you're speaking for the students because you've been on campus and advising them and writing about events right from the get-go. And the students tonight, as we speak, are they decided they really wanted to be at an activity where there's an Israeli soldier speaking at the library. Could you kind of give us a background of what's been happening at Binghamton University?
Yeah, so since October 7th of 2023, our organization has planned and executed a wide variety of protests, rallies, marches, demonstrations, disruptions here in Binghamton, mostly on Binghamton University campus. Um, Throughout the last school year, we held weekly rallies out front of the university library where we would give speeches about Israel's colonial and genocidal practices. These rallies were regularly targeted by Zionist students. They used amplification devices that were banned by the administration to blare music and drown us out right in front of multiple police officers and administrators who surrounded us at every event. Um, of course, they did nothing about it. They shouted slurs and disgusting remarks. That reminds me of the encampment we had in May of 2024, where we set up on the Peace Squad. It was a collaboration between different groups like SJP. Um, during the of Zionist, and even some faculty showed up and harassed the students participating in the encampment. They stood around the perimeter, shouting slurs, accusing students of supporting rape and murder, and even screamed those things in megaphones just inches away from students' ears. Um, the students participating over the entire time. Every time we had rallies, there was never really any back and forth. Like, they were people that were
we seem to be losing. Yeah, but I noticed that we have another Binghamton student on. Jacob, could you kind of jump in? Are you on? Okay, can you hear us
Yeah,
okay?
of course. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, sure.
So, um, wow, I hope Caleb can get back. Caleb's a community member who's done a lot. He's been a really core part of our organization for the past semester at least. We formed organically in the fall of 2023 in response to um, the genocide in Gaza. And Binghamton University, I think, is a really exceptional case in the Palestine solidarity movement because the Zionists have, well, this is the part which isn't exceptional. The Zionists have full institutional support, full support from the state, like everywhere else, but also we have a very, very large Jewish population. And of course, the Jews of our generation are more split, and more Jews are coming away from the Zionist propaganda that we're conditioned with in many of our congregations. But at the same time, there are also a lot of Israeli students, and there's a robust program of exchange with Israeli universities and birthright trips. I know it's the same at Cornell. But today, the Q Center is hosting a Zionist propagandist, an Israeli soldier, and a trans man in cooperation with the Q Center, which is our like community center in the library. It's an office for queer students, and Binghamton Hillel. So they're hosting this Israeli soldier who really never left, really never stopped being an Israeli soldier because ever since he left the military and transitioned as a man, he has been doing propaganda work for his government. He doesn't protest the condition of the for the rights of trans people in Israel or against their mistreatment. Rather, he is a representative of his state who faithfully and loudly proclaims the opportunities that Israeli society has for trans people. His family moved out of South Africa after apartheid fell when he was a young kid, and in Israel he served, committed the war crimes. We're going to be asking all about that tonight, in collaboration with the SJP. And ever since then, he's been a part of these large institutional kind of like, I guess you could say like diversity, equity, inclusion groups in Israel, where he promotes Israeli companies in cybersecurity, advertising, companies which do a great job at including trans people in their work, which contributes to the genocide of the Palestinian people. So that's what we've been protesting today. Binghamton has a lot of students who have internships with Israeli NGOs, branches, their entire job as an intern is to contrive incidents of anti-Semitism to charge us with. They get paid for it. We have a rapidly Zionist, we have a BU Zionist organization, which is very active, and which again is full of Israeli students who are charging us with, right now we're part of the 60 universities, I think 40 universities. We're part of this federal investigation into civil rights abuses. We've been under investigation for anti-Semitism before, so is Cornell. And it seems that they're charging the university with not expelling students for dissenting to their genocidal policies. And one of the things Binghamton Solidarity for Palestine in particular is feared for or is one of the reasons we're feared by the university is because we always refuse to accept the boundaries of dissent, which are established by the media, by the university administration, by all of public society in the United States, that you can't challenge the nature of the state of Israel and its coloniality and what it represents to the Palestinians who, for 100 years, been displaced from their homeland, who have seen it colonized, occupied, and are policed over by settlers from without for decades. It's stolen land. And when we challenge that, when we move away from some of the thought policing or the kind of careful euphemisms used by a lot of like the institutional, like the funded side of the Palestinian movement, to be frank, we're hitting them where it hurts. Even if we don't have some of the resources that other Palestine groups have, we can pull some big crowds, and we do that as well with our partners in the community, grassroots organizations like We Outside 607, which are absolutely for the welfare of Binghamtonians and host all kinds of community events. They're giving kids haircuts before the first day of school. They're camping out in front of our corrupt, terrible DSS office on Main Street and cooking up hot dogs for the homeless. They're really doing things right, and it's them, it's they, and also you guys, Jack, and Veterans for Peace, who have taken initiative of your own to reach out to us, and we organize together. So
Jacob, could you say something about the influence that you're aware of Lockheed Martin and BAE? They're two of the giants of the merchants of death. Are they on campus? And if so, could you tell us something about that?
yes, Lockheed Martin and BAE Systems both have special contracts with the Watson School of Engineering. Thomas Watson is a famous historical figure in the United States, and also he collaborated closely with the Third Reich in Nazi Germany to build up their information systems, which they used, of course, to perpetrate the Holocaust. Now, BAE Systems has an office in Johnson City. Lockheed Martin has a big plant in Owego, which is just how long a drive would you say that is, Jack? 20 minutes, 40 minutes?
15 minutes.
15-minute drive. And engineering students are funneled into, I mean, everyone knows it's what you get an engineering degree for. I had a friend when I was younger who wanted to work at NASA, and he has to tell everyone he wants to work at NASA because he's working on rocket science projects with Israeli military technicians. That was a long time ago. I can't maintain that same cognitive dissonance anymore. But
Could you say something?
We've had a few engineering fairs, some career fairs, and Jack Gilroy and the Veterans for Peace, Peace Action have helped us in two big disruptions of those career fairs. We had one of our organizers dressed up as the Pope, and he was delivering, because the Pope Francis has been all right on the Palestinian question. In the past year, at least, he's been outspoken against the genocide, and he may not have, our perfectly principled. He may not have like a principled stance on Palestinian national liberation, but he is absolutely a voice for peace, who we respect and admire.
Could you mention something to the group about some plans you and other students have discussed about Tax Day, April the 15th? as a possible event. And it might be something you could catch on, on universities around the country. Do you mind saying a word or two about that, Jacob?
Sure thing. We're planning a peace caravan. Binghamton University, or the city of Binghamton, is not only home to BA Systems and Lockheed Martin facilities, but it feels like the defense industry is very, very close to home here. There are several contracts worth tens of millions of dollars given to companies in the Binghamton area for defense, and we want to hit them all, protest them all, make a press event out of it, and let people know on tax day what it is that their tax dollars, at least half of them, are contributing towards, and what kinds of machines are being produced by companies with such unassuming names. We're really attacking the systems industry and the tools industry. But in fact, it's missiles, it's electronic components used in aircraft, it's all kinds of malicious components being used to wage war, imperialist war.
Do you plan on bringing home anything to? There was talk at a meeting that you had last Sunday about possibly delivering a letter to the president, Harvey Stinger, who is the outgoing president, but he's still the president of Binghamton University. Has that developed any, or is that in a developing stage?
Oh yeah, we're drafting a letter to President Harvey. Harvey is actually outgoing president. He's retiring this year, and surely we'll get an even president who might be in some ways worse, in some ways better. Worse because you can't get less militant than Harvey Stenger. He broke down crying a few years ago when students started questioning him on racial justice, just publicly in a big room, and had to leave. We also want to send a nice email to a figure who we think is going to stay around for a little while. That's the dean of the Watson College, Atul Kelkar. And we're thinking also of who else we can send this to, because it's not only the hard sciences, the STEM fields, which are helping to commit these atrocities, but it's also in the humanities. And we have an Institute for Genocide and Mass Atrocities Prevention, which has in fact done nothing but excuse and run interference for and support Israel's genocidal war against the Palestinian people. We've got two directors, ostensibly leftist, like cite a Marxist, and then they're going to, of course, excuse that genocide.
That letter that you have, there could be a template for that for Veterans for Peace and other, to get to universities around the nation. Would you be willing to share that once that's done, so that it could be used not just at Binghamton and Cornell, but maybe wherever?
For sure. I think it's a really strong concept. I'm sure it's one that you've done a few times, Jack. The Peace Caravan. One of the things that we did as part of SUNY BDS several months ago, maybe a year ago, we went up to Albany and we put at the SUNY headquarters, we gave them our petition signed by thousands of students calling to boycott, divest, and sanction the state of Israel. And I think it's a great idea for students at college campuses and also networks of community organizations who are filling the streets so frequently over the past year and a half, almost 2 years, to organize a caravan, establish the press connections, make sure that people see what's going on, that they hear from the people who are protesting it, that they understand beyond the media, the news propaganda, that we're so insult, we are
So basically,
yeah, attacked by.
you're charging the industries, the merchants of death, with aiding and abetting the murder of tens of thousands of people in Gaza, and you're also taking that letter to the presidents of Cornell and of Binghamton. So what I'm saying is, Jacob, you and the other your fellow students, if you could have a packet like that available to Veterans for Peace in the next week or two, then maybe Veterans for Peace might be able to get that distributed around the country. You know, we did. I think Caleb had more to say too. And Caleb, are you
Yeah,
back?
welcome back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm not even sure what Jacob went over, so I'm not sure what's left for me to say because I kind of prepared to because I didn't know he was going to be here, so I'm not sure exactly what he went over,
Well,
but
any reflection on plans that you might think of in coming weeks or um, your own particular views? You've been observing and been writing about events at Binghamton University for over a year now.
yeah, yeah. I was planning on going over that. I could start from where I began. So I was saying in May of 2024, we collaborated with Binghamton SJP and some other organizations to hold an encampment on the P Squad at BU. It was short lived, but I feel like it sent a message to the university about how many students are willing to speak out against their investment and support for Israel. During the event, dozens of Zionist students and even some faculty showed up and harassed the students participating in the encampment. Uh, they stood around the perimeter shouting slurs, accusing students of supporting rape and murder, and even screamed these things through megaphones, like just inches away from students' ears. The students participating in the encampment ignored them the entire time. And throughout last school year, we held weekly rallies out front of the university library where we would give speeches about Israel's colonial and genocidal practices. These rallies were regularly targeted by the Zionist students. They used amplification devices that were banned by the administration to blare music and drown us out. They did this in front of multiple police officers and administrators who surrounded us at every event, and of course, they did nothing about it. They shouted slurs and disgusting remarks like they did at the encampment. At one of the rallies, they even laughed about hypothetically assaulting an elderly community member who was attending. At a different event, a Zionist assaulted one of our safety team members for standing in between him and a Muslim woman who had just given a speech. Once again, none of the students participating in the protests responded to these remarks or threats with any hostility. This is why the Department of Education investigating BU for anti-Semitic discrimination and harassment is complete bullshit. From everything I witnessed and experienced, the discrimination and harassment on campus is completely one-sided and being perpetrated by the Zionists and the Zionists alone. Uh, we've I don't know what Jacob went over, but we've protested multiple job fairs being held by Watson College, the Engineering and Applied Sciences program here at BU. Uh, we have we chose to target Watson College because they receive multiple grants from weapons manufacturers like Lockheed Martin and BAE Systems, and in turn, they push their students to take jobs with these corporations. We also disrupted the Watson College Scholars program welcome dinner. Uh, this event is a PR ploy by Watson College to nominate marginalized students for scholarships and tokenize them in order to present themselves as diverse and progressive and inclusive. Um, Campus police responded when we held that disruption and threatened to arrest us for standing outside of the door and playing videos of the genocide. We kind of told them to fuck off and asserted our right to be there. And fortunately, they didn't end up arresting any of us. Um, yeah, I heard Jacob talking. The last thing I was going to talk about was our plan for tax day, and I heard Jacob talking about it, and I'm not sure how much he explained about that. So I don't have to go over that if it's not necessary.
Well, we'll have it all in print too, I think, from what the students have been saying. They're developing a packet, so we'll get that out. That's good, but I'm glad you brought up the fact that the education department reprimanded Binghamton University for abusing Jewish students. Jacob, who is a Jewish young student, will say that's bull too, right, Jacob? Your audio is off.
Yeah, it is. I've been doxxed for this work, so I've faced plenty of harassment from Zionists, whatever personal costs. I don't think that any Jewish students on our campus feel credibly endangered by our organizing presence. And I think even they are actually more embarrassed to see the entire state and university system and media propagandists amplify, their cause, speak on behalf of their safety, because in the end, it'll probably turn more people over to our side to view that the students are being repressed because America is supporting the Palestinian genocide, and the Palestinian people are resisting with everything they can.
We better turn it over. Thanks, Jacob, and thanks everybody to Susan. I think we've taken up a lot of time, but we really appreciate the opportunity you're given to both Cornell and to Binghamton University to say their piece. Thanks, Susan.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. And my last question to all of you is, how would you have Veterans for Peace support you all? I mean, I know that a number of individual members have gone to protests on different college campuses. Is there something in addition that you think we might be able to do? And again, do as veterans to assist and work with you all to stop the genocide in Gaza?
We have a pretty developed relationship with the local chapter of Peace Action and Veterans for Peace, or Pax Christi. I think there's a lot of overlap in those organizations. And we're working on the Freedom or the Peace Caravan coming up in a month. And we're grateful for all the support we've received already. I think there's going to be more actions to come. On our end, we could try and be a little bit more involved in some of the other events you guys are holding, but we appreciate we appreciate a lot when we have the presence, when we have Tim or Jack or another member of the organization coming to our demonstrations and saying their piece. It's all for a good cause.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. Let me just, if you would stay for a little bit longer, let me ask if there are other folks who are on this Zoom, if they have questions for you. And Ellen, I can't see hands, so.
Okay, there's a hand up from somebody whose screen name is Release the Hostages and Surrender Assholes. And I think we're not going to call on them because I don't think they're coming from a place of respect for this process here. However, Bob's got his hand up, Bob Kyleback.
And I do too. Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob. But we need to unmute.
Here we are. Okay. This all is very reminiscent of my experience. I was an engineering student in the 60s. I was out of the military. I was going to CCNY, and we had many demonstrations against military contractors on campus. And I interviewed with a number of companies, no military contractors at all, and I ended up, 38-year career in engineering, but no military contractors, of course. But just love what you're doing, and we've been there.
Nick Modern, I think, has his
Yep.
hand up.
We got Nick.
And Nick, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I'll just preface my question by saying that I live in Northampton, where the Smith College.
We need to kick somebody. They're in the chat. There's a Zionist in the chat.
Yeah, I know. I
Okay,
think
can we go on? Nick,
yeah,
please
just let them chat. Nobody needs to respond to them.
Nick.
Yes, I'll just preface my question by saying I live in Northampton, Massachusetts, where Smith College is, and this fall, Smith College issued certain policy guidelines, quote unquote, for when and where students could protest. And it's all very velvet glove, but the students are definitely feeling constrained. And the University of Massachusetts, Amherst is very close to here. And a number of students feel that they are under surveillance by the university. And so I was wondering if you are experiencing any school policies about when and where you can speak and what you can say, or surveillance or other things that you feel are a constant threat to your free speech and to organizing that come from the administration of the school. Thank you.
BU revised their guidelines after the encampment to prevent another one from happening mostly, but they're also pretty draconian in general. They tried to stop us from using sound amplification devices, for example, as Caleb pointed out. And it doesn't seem to matter when the counter demonstrators and the hecklers and the instigators from the BU Zionist organization use the same sound amplification devices at our rallies, or in general, just try to break up, try and break the peace right in front of the police officers. So that's another thing is, it's quite intimidating. We have, every time we have a planned rally, it's going to be 20 police officers, 15 to 20, and they'll make a big circle around it so as to discourage people from coming in, so as to threaten you with physical violence. It's just a constant reminder, and we're very convinced that it's not a policy to protect us. That's kind of what I can say. It hasn't been overwhelming. We still find ways to protest our administration. We still find ways to resist. We're awfully careful at Binghamton University. And I have not responded to Anthony. Sat down with the community affairs officer.
Thank you. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Yes, thank you. And I think it's important also to add to anybody else who is on this call and is listening that we are an organization for peace, for nonviolence, and that's what we're all working for, is to end the violence that is going on against the people in Gaza who are almost defenseless, that their children are being killed, that their property is being decimated, that in fact, recently we know that their ability to fresh water has been cut off, and that there has been additional bombing of the people in Gaza. Over 400 lives have been lost. So I need to emphasize again that we are an organization and a people for peace and for social justice. And that is what we stand for. And let me go just a bit
Susan,
further.
I just want to let you know that the person in question made a remark about you should look up the Muslim countries, and I decided that crossed the line of racism, and I took them out of the meeting.
Okay, thank you, but I'm sorry.
That was a line we couldn't have. So
right. I think the other issue, and I think it's important for us, for those of us who are Jewish, to say, in fact, we are Jewish and we stand with the people of Gaza who continue to suffer. And I'm in it for the person who left. I'm so sorry they left and didn't hear that. But that there is a difference between being anti-Jewish and being anti-Zionist. And we can't say that strongly enough or often enough. And that those people who suffered at the hands of the Nazis during the Holocaust were Jews. They know what a Holocaust is, and that's why we struggle with the people of Gaza today. So thank you. And with that, I'll get off my soapbox. I really appreciate, again, hearing from you all today. Are there any other questions?
I'm not seeing any other hands. I want to ask though, I work at a SUNY campus myself. I'm speaking to you from FIT, and I'm just curious about have you the SUNY BDS network, how many campuses you have involved, and what kind of support you've been getting from faculty and staff. I know here at FIT, I never see any other faculty or staff out at any of the demonstrations, but
At Binghamton University, there's a caucus, a small caucus in the UUP union, which supports Palestine and tries to put their union in a solidaristic direction. We also have some faculty in, we have, I think, an Ithaca faculty and a Buffalo faculty member who are, really like core organizers in SUNY BDS. Our FIT contingent is very student-led, and they're great. They're super radical. I can give you a contact if you want to get in touch with some of the student organizers, if you haven't already. And so, yeah, faculty they play a very noticeable role in SUNY BDS because most of them are activists from previous generations of struggle on college campuses. And they're also a lot more organized than the students are at first. That's for sure. And so they're great sources of guidance, of mediation between students, especially interpersonal mediation, because this is college and people get into fights over all kinds of political or personal minutia. And I think that it's part of the glue that sticks us together in SUNY BDS.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Not seeing any other hands.
Okay. Jack, Jacob, Caleb, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And we will certainly all be in touch. Did you want to mention what is coming up on April 15th?
Well, I just wanted to quickly say that what we discussed in a little cafe this past Sunday is in a working process now with committees, but it will be a car caravan. Binghamton has made the decision, the Binghamton students. I thought it would be good to start off on campus, but I was overruled, and they said at Lockheed Martin they will have car caravans. So we'll look for community members to come in. And some students have cars as well. And we have the funds at Veterans for Peace here to help the students with banners, signs, or whatever, because organizations are not even allowed sometimes to exist on the. They didn't mention that on the Binghamton campus. So we'll help them out as a sort of a solidarity, group with the town and students. But the big thing is that I think that Terry Lodge, who a lot of you know, is the really a distinguished attorney from Ohio who wrote the 6 Broken Laws letter last year that was delivered to a number of Department of State offices and to some companies, some merchants of death. Terry is working on a letter. It's in the process now where it's being rewritten and designed to go to university presidents. And we believe that there are many university presidents beyond Cornell and Binghamton University that need to be reprimanded, need to be told that they are aiding and abetting war crimes by allowing these institutions on campus. So that'll be part of the packet that we'll be getting to Veterans for Peace, and look for your leadership and your assistance as days and months, or days and weeks go by. It's April 15th, less than a month away, but we have time. And I think this could become, with especially with the student pledge out of Binghamton, to not interview, and it's online, Veterans for Peace has it online, to not interview with war manufacturers. If young engineers and others could do that, to make that pledge, that might be a dent that will shake up some of the big boys. It's a dream, but I think that the Z generation, we're with the Z generation who have some principles and a sense of conscience that could eventually envelop the nation. That's a hope, that's a dream, and that's where we're at. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you. I thought we would go